The billionaire laughed when he saw the single dad standing at the edge of the boardroom, his worn jacket slightly creased, his hands rough, his eyes calm but tired. The laughter echoed against glass walls and polished floors, sharp and careless, because in that moment, no one in the room believed this man belonged there. No one imagined that within the next hour, power would quietly change hands, pride would collapse, and a lifetime of silent struggle would finally be seen. Before the story goes any further, pause for a second. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and quiet strength that never gives up, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel, Lonely Dad Strong Heart. Your support keeps stories like this alive. The single dad had learned long ago how to stand unnoticed. Life had trained him to take up as little space as possible. Years earlier, his world had shattered in a hospital hallway when his wife passed away unexpectedly, leaving him alone with a newborn son and a future that felt impossibly heavy. Grief did not come in loud waves for him. It came in silent exhaustion, sleepless nights, and the constant pressure of being both mother and father while the world kept moving without mercy. He worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, not chasing dreams but chasing stability, chasing rent, chasing a sense of safety for a child who depended on him for everything. He never spoke about how many times he had gone to bed hungry so his son could eat. He never mentioned the nights he studied financial reports and business articles after midnight, not because he wanted wealth, but because understanding the system felt like armor in a world that had already taken too much from him. While others relaxed, he learned. While others slept, he planned. He was invisible to society, but inside him lived a mind sharpened by survival and a heart strengthened by responsibility. Years passed, and the boy grew into a quiet, thoughtful child who trusted his father with an unshakable faith. That faith became the man's fuel. He began making careful investments, small at first, then smarter, then bolder. He never gambled. Every move was calculated, every risk measured against the one question that mattered most: would this protect his child? Slowly, almost invisibly, his financial footing strengthened. He didn't dress differently. He didn't change his routines. He understood something many never do: true power does not announce itself. The billionaire, on the other hand, was known everywhere. His name was attached to headlines, luxury cars, and glass towers that scraped the sky. He had inherited not only wealth but confidence that had never been tested by hunger or loss. Success had always been his default setting. Over time, it had hardened him. People around him became tools, stepping stones, or entertainment. Compassion, to him, was a branding strategy, not a value. When he saw the single dad that morning, he saw a background character, someone who existed to remind him of how far above others he stood. The company was in trouble, though few knew the full truth. Bad decisions, arrogance, and unchecked expansion had created cracks beneath the shine. Investors were nervous. A quiet acquisition was underway, meant to save the company without embarrassing its leader. The billionaire assumed the buyer would be another tycoon, someone loud, someone flashy, someone easy to recognize as an equal. He never imagined the buyer would be someone he had already dismissed. As the meeting unfolded, documents were reviewed, numbers confirmed, and authority subtly shifted. The single dad listened more than he spoke, observing the room with calm precision. Every detail mattered to him. He remembered the nights he had doubted himself, the mornings he had walked his son to school with only a few coins in his pocket, the years when life seemed determined to break him. None of that showed on his face. He had learned emotional discipline the same way he learned business, through necessity. The moment of realization came not with drama, but with silence. A silence so heavy it pressed against every wall. The billionaire's confidence cracked as he understood who held control. Not a man in a tailored suit with a loud reputation, but a quiet single father who had built his strength piece by piece while the world looked the other way. The mockery drained from his expression, replaced by disbelief, then something closer to fear. The room shifted. Respect, once withheld, was suddenly unavoidable. But this story is not about revenge. The single dad did not savor the moment. He had not come to humiliate anyone. He had come to protect something he had built with sacrifice and patience. His goal was never dominance. It was stability, integrity, and a future where his son would never feel powerless the way he once had. Power, to him, was responsibility, not ego. As control passed into his hands, he made decisions that surprised everyone. Employees who had feared layoffs were protected. Systems that rewarded arrogance were replaced with accountability. Voices that had been ignored were finally heard. The company began to heal, not through force, but through structure and empathy. People noticed the change, not because it was loud, but because it felt human. The billionaire struggled in the weeks that followed. Losing control forced him to confront a truth he had avoided his entire life: success without humility is fragile. For the first time, he saw the human cost of his leadership. The single dad did not shame him or seek apology. Instead, he demonstrated a different way of existing in power, one shaped by loss, love, and endurance. It was a lesson far more painful than public embarrassment, because it required internal change. At home, life remained simple. The single dad still packed lunches, still attended school meetings, still listened to his son talk about small dreams and big questions. He never told him about boardrooms or billionaires. What mattered was presence. What mattered was being there. The boy grew up seeing consistency instead of chaos, calm instead of fear. That was the true victory. As time passed, the story quietly spread. Not as gossip, but as inspiration. People spoke about the man who had been overlooked, the father who had turned pain into purpose. They spoke about how strength does not always roar, and how the most powerful people are often the ones who know what it means to lose everything and still choose kindness. If this story is touching your heart right now, if you feel that quiet ache of recognition or hope, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to Lonely Dad's Strong Heart. Your engagement helps these stories reach the people who need them most. Near the end of his journey, the single dad reflected not on wealth, but on resilience. Life had never been fair to him, yet it had taught him depth, patience, and compassion. He understood that being underestimated was not a curse but a shield. It gave him the space to grow without pressure, to build without noise, to rise without hatred. The billionaire eventually stepped away, changed but quieter. The company thrived under leadership rooted in understanding rather than ego. Employees worked not out of fear, but pride. And somewhere in a modest home, a father and son continued their life together, proof that true success is not measured by how high you stand, but by how many you lift along the way. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something from the heart. Please comment below with the words, "Quiet strength matters," if you believe that kindness, patience, and resilience still have power in this world. This story is for every single parent who feels invisible, every person who has been mocked for their appearance or status, and every soul who keeps going despite the weight they carry. Sometimes the world laughs before it learns. And sometimes, the strongest hearts beat in silence.